Hey, everybody, welcome back to the either 19th or 20th episode of Taps and Patience. I am the very good counter AJ Huff with Design the Everything, and I'm here with Harrison of Precision Ingenuity.
What's going
Hey, Harrison,
on?
do you know what episode number this is?
I do not. I am a horrible co-host, and I do not actually have that available right now.
I wrote 19 when I set up this chat room thingy, but I
19.
think we already had 19.
Well, last one posted is 18, so
Oh,
I'm
so
gonna
this is actually 19.
I'm gonna go with 19. That's my
Okay,
final
well,
answer.
it might be 19.
So
Did
how
I
we
just
doing?
not post the last one?
I don't know.
That would be awkward. But anyway, programming notes aside.
Look at us being all organized. How we doing today? You have a good week last week? Anything major happened to you or no?
I launched a Kickstarter.
Oh,
That was kind of major.
I was hoping you'd bring that up. Well, I wouldn't say that was last week. That was technically yesterday.
Yesterday,
So,
which is this week.
Which is this week. And, I wanted to do a shout out for your Kickstarter, but by the time this posts on like Wednesday, it might be gone.
Yeah, part of me thought that we were going to sell out today. I don't think that's true anymore. It has slowed down considerably. So there might even be coins left after Wednesday.
Maybe. For those of you who, when this podcast comes out on Wednesday, if you're listening to it, step away, go check on AJ's Make 100 campaign, because I have a sneaking suspicion that if you wanted one, they might be gone by now. So can't promise it, but I'm predicting that by Wednesday they'll be gone. By the end of Wednesday.
So I'm 431% funded with $2,361. How many coins is that? That's the number that matters. So I've sold 73 coins and 32 display stands.
So with 73 coins gone, and people have gotten multiple coins, when you do make 100, this is a question I have. If you're only making 100 coins, are you adjusting the total counts to make sure that only 100 are sold?
Yes. So my original plan was to, like, if I sold some of those add-ons, I would just reduce the number of rewards that, like, there's a number that you can limit the Kickstarter rewards to. And I was just going to reduce that over time.
Mm-hmm.
Turns out the Kickstarter doesn't let you do that anymore. I believe you used to be able to, or I'm crazy, but I could have sworn you used to be able to.
Well, you could adjust how many you had of each different type of reward as they sold. At least that's how it was when we did it.
Okay. Well, you can only add to it now. You can't do it less than you originally launched with.
Interesting.
Which I did not expect. But what you can do is you can hide reward tiers. So when I get to 100, I'm just going to hide the reward tiers. All of them except for the one that's just like, hey, give me $1. And that will be how I make sure I don't sell more than 100.
That's interesting. For being Make 100, I feel like they would have a way to like limit that to 100 somehow.
Yeah, maybe Make 100 is more of a community event. Like it's run by Kickstarter, but like there's no check boxes when you make your campaign that's like, hey, this is Make 100. Literally, they just tell you to put it in the title, and a Kickstarter employee, if they notice it, will add it to the right category.
Oh my.
Which so theoretically they should do during the review process, but they did not do that for the Pry Bar Kickstarter last year, which I did as part of Make 100. They'd never categorized it as a Make 100 event, even though I had it in the title.
Yeah. That's funny. So talking about this Kickstarter a little bit more, what are your thoughts on it so far? Are you happy, surprised, performing as expected? Like, what's your thoughts on this one?
It's far better than I expected. Granted, I didn't really know what to expect, but this is so different from most of the Design the Everything stuff that I did not expect it to do as well. I thought maybe we would get to this point of about $2,500 by the end, which is on January 31st.
Mm-hmm.
But it did it in a day. So
Yeah. A little over
yeah, that's
24 hours.
a little over 24 hours. That's not what I was expecting at all. It was funded before I was able to announce it.
Really?
Yeah.
Because I remember when you sent it out, and I was one of the first people that was on there, and you had 0 buyers. And then, like, I refreshed the page, and it was like 10.
Yes.
So it was fast.
Now, to be fair, I launched it in the middle of church, so I just kind of hit go, and then went back to not paying attention, and so like it wasn't that like it wasn't instant, but it was
but it was within the
fast.
First hour and a half.
Yeah.
Because I was watching it and I was like I was showing my wife while we were folding clothes. I was like, look, he sold another one. He sold another.
Yeah.
I was like, they're going so fast.
Yeah, I basically didn't have time to pay attention to it much at all on the day that it launched. Because I was with my family the whole day, and like I said, church and stuff. Mm-hmm. And so it just kind of went on its own, which was fine. I didn't have a big social media push planned for this one like I did on the Carabiners.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, so let me ask you another question, because it's one that I'm honestly curious about myself. Do you feel like this kind of response is due to following, due to getting better at doing Kickstarter campaigns, or getting better, or just the type of product, or do you think it's some combination of all of that?
I think this is mostly following at this point. I know there's some organic traffic from Kickstarter, but it's maybe 15%, maybe 20%.
Okay.
A large portion of the traffic came from my previous Kickstarter, the Carabiner Kickstarter.
Ooh,
and then
awesome.
Some were just Instagram followers.
That's awesome. Well, that's awesome to see that they're kind of compounding on each other now.
Yes.
So making each success more successful.
Yep. And it helps that this was so cheap. Like the Carabiners, I don't know, they weren't particularly hugely expensive, but they started at $30 plus shipping. So like $33 was, I think, the minimum you could spend. This is only $25 with free shipping if you're within the US. And I think it's just a little bit of a easier, like, hey, I'll buy this just because I want to support you kind of category.
Yeah. Well, they are really cool. Everyone that I've shown them to has really liked the different designs. And when I tell them, I'm like, oh yeah, no, he's doing this for 100. And like each one of these designs is randomly generated through an AI algorithm. They're all like, oh, that's super cool.
Yeah.
So
I'm sure there are a lot of people in my audience who just don't get it at all. Like I've definitely gotten the question, like, but what's it for? what does it do?
Yeah.
And it's like, well, I mean, it just kind of looks pretty, and you can put it in your pocket if you want.
Yeah,
but
yeah. I mean, to be fair, that same crowd that will say, and I know there's people that will like buy stuff like knives and pry bars and they'll use them, but there are so many collectors out there that never use them for their intended purpose that it's like they're kind of like that coin at that same point, that they're like more of a showpiece than they are actually for like, hey, if I needed a knife, I would go down to the hardware store and buy a cheaper that I can destroy in my daily use. Like most people don't carry around a $10,000 pocket knife, even though it serves a function, and actually use it for that function. Like there are people that do it, but they're a small majority.
Or they carry two knives. They'll carry like a Norseman or whatever, but then they'll also have like a CRKT in their pocket, and they use the CRKT like if they need to actually do something, but they'll have the Norseman to play with.
Yeah, or to show off, they'll be like, "Oh yeah, this is my Norseman." There's like, "Awesome, I need to go open this box." Wait. Use this one.
Yeah.
So, but no, I think it's really cool. I really like how they look. I think that was an awesome idea on your part. So, let's see here. Trying to remember what happened last week for me. we're starting to get busy, which is awesome. And so I'm looking forward to that. We've got, I think, close to 20 different items that are running through the shop right now, like separate jobs and of varying sizes. And then today I just picked up some sheet metal parts that are getting laser engraved. And if I can, and I sent images to the customer and he was happy with them. And so I'm hoping by the end of the week that I get a green light that he's going to place an order. And if he does, it'll be for a continuous revenue stream type order where he's going to be ordering 30 to 50 of these every week for the next year or two.
30 to 50. Wow. Okay.
So it'll be 1,000 to 2,000 per year estimated. And he's right in the middle of redesigning this whole product line. He had a different company that he was working with. And now that that's over, now that he's about ready to release this product, this is going to be the nameplate that actually goes on the center of it. And so he's expecting to move between 30 and 50 units a week average is what he's projecting.
Nice. Yeah. So even if it's only like $5 a pop profit for you, like that's pretty reasonable.
Yeah. So it would be awesome because it would be a known consistent revenue stream, and I want to get more of those. So that's exciting. I'm really happy with that. So I have an update on something that I talked a little bit about with AJ, but I guess I'm ready to share a little bit of it this week.
Is this the secret product?
No, it's not the secret product because we did talk about that.
Yeah.
No, this was my venting before last week's podcast.
Okay, they didn't get to hear.
They didn't get to hear it, but I'll share a little bit of that now. So we do not only machining, but we also do some contract engineering work, and we work with other people in project management capacities. And I've gone through this whole saga with a subcontractor that's been very frustrating on the last little bit over some minor details that I won't go into too much information about right now. But needless to say, things started going south at the last minute, and then I found out that the person who that I was working with at this other company is no longer employed there.
Oh.
Yeah.
At the
other company.
At the
my
bad company, the misbehaving company.
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
So he is no longer employed there. I do not know the story behind it, nor do I want to speculate too hard on it all. But I just thought I'd at least bring it up because it's something big that happened last week that consumed a lot of my last week. Was that I was trying to get a hold of this guy. I could not get a hold of him for 4 or 5 days until the day of the actual install. And then that's when I got an email from the company that he was with that said he's no longer employed there on basically the day that the install was supposed to happen.
Oh no.
So it put a lot of egg on my face for the customer I was working with, but I had to call and talk to them and explain the whole situation. And they were very understanding. Thankfully I have a really good working relationship with them because I used to work there as an intern when I was in in college. And so I had a really good working relationship with all the people up there, but it was just, it's really frustrating. And now I got to go get it all sorted out with a new person who has no idea what's actually going on with the project. So that's kind of what my last week was around.
So this is a physical install that you are working on, right?
Correct.
And your subcontractor was manufacturing physical things that they were installing.
Correct. Under my supervision and design.
And was the person you were working, was it like something that they were installing on site, like they were welding in, or it was not something that was prefabricated?
It's something that it was sheet metal, laser cut, fabricated, and then it was going to be installed.
So did they not did your subcontractor not produce this thing that they were supposed to be installing? Like, why couldn't someone else at the company install it?
Because it hadn't been built at all.
So,
And I never got the final approval drawings for me to approve it so that they could build it. So it was a whole train of events where it was a 2-stage project. We did the first stage 2 weeks ago, and that went smoothly, and everyone was happy, and it was all smiles all the way around. Beginning of the second week's install came around, and on Monday I was going back and forth with this guy on the design, and we had a little bit of back and forth. He didn't like some of the design changes I was suggesting, and I was like, listen, this is the way I want it. And he stopped contacting me after that. And so I tried calling, I tried emailing. I called the office and asked to talk to him, and they told me that he was unavailable, or that he would call me back in a couple hours, and then I'd wait 4 hours and call him back. And anyways, and he ended up reaching out to the company that hired me, told them that he couldn't do the install. Granted, he hadn't talked to me since Monday, and that was the day before the install was supposed to go in. And the company I was doing the work for, they forwarded me that email, and they said, hey, you might want to get with your subcontractor. He's emailing us, and he should really figure this out with you. And I'm like, I've been trying to get a hold of him this whole time. Like, I've literally, like, apart from driving over there myself in person, which I was getting ready to do, until I got an email shortly after all of that saying that he was no longer at that company.
Yeah.
And I don't know if he left. I don't know if they asked him to leave, but I feel really bad because he was an individual that I thought I had a really good working relationship with, and I had worked closely with at my old job. So it's a little frustrating because it's one of those business and friends dilemmas where I feel like I had a really good working relationship with this individual, and this whole project with them felt a little bit rocky in different ways, and then to have it culminate in that, it's just I really want to reach out in like a couple weeks or a month and just touch base with him and see what's going on.
That's a good idea.
But it's challenging right now, trying to figure it all out. So this is me venting a little bit. I realize that. And I don't want to talk poorly about this individual or this company because I don't have the whole story at this point. And so I don't want to say that they did anything wrong, one way or another, but because I don't have all the facts yet.
So where are you going moving forwards now? Sticking with the same contractor, getting them to do the work, or?
I have a new point of contact. They've already sent me over stuff to approve, but they have other stuff that they can't use, and so I need to go into the plant and take some more measurements because the other guy had supposedly taken those measurements, but they're not going to work. So I need to go in and measure him in place of him. Okay. And I have to get everything rescheduled because this is a functioning plant. They do food products, and they can't just have us come in and install at any time. Everything has to be closed down, and they have their stuff scheduled like 3 to 6 months in advance or more. And so I got to find the next point in the schedule that we can get in and finish up this install, which really puts a burden on them because we had to find a time where there was 2 weeks next to each other, which is really hard. And we'd finally found a time that was going to work, and we had to wait like 2 or 3 months to get to this point. And now that it's passed, I might have to wait another 2 to 3 months although we only need 1 more week, so it won't be as bad. I could probably find something closer, but I'm still waiting on them to tell me their schedule to see when I can get in there. And I got to take measurements and get the design all figured out for the part that didn't end up getting measured or they're having problems with or something. I'm not sure. So, and I'd like to meet this new individual who I'm working with too, and sit down and have a conversation with them. And then going forwards, that company has other projects they want me to work on, but we're probably going to end up going with a different subcontractor.
Yeah.
So, but I want to finish out with this one first because I started with them. Trying to switch over now in the middle would probably cause even more problems, even though they are switching people. I just think to keep everything nice and not burn any bridges right now with that company on either side. We'll just finish it out with them and go from there. So, is what it is. Got to roll with the punches on this one, and as frustrating as it is, but on the plus side, not dealing with anything related to that mess right now. We've got a lot of work that is going to keep us very busy all week. And so I have a lot of work lined up for pretty much all of the machines in the shop right now. So I'm pretty happy about that, and a little bit nervous to trying to get it all done. Because my cousin informed me last night that he is going to be gone Thursday and Friday for a bachelor party of one of his friends. So we have a lot of work lined up, and he's going to be gone. He said he's going to, he stayed late tonight. He's going to try to stay late most nights this week to try to get stuff done on the front end. But Thursday, Friday, I'm going to be by myself, and I'm hoping that I can get a lot done. So,
does he run machines?
He typically does not run machines, but I mean, he does, but I run machines more than he does. What he does is everything else besides the machines. So he does the laser, he does the 3D printing, he does the Cerakoting, he does all the gun related stuff. He does most of the financials. So if we were to break it down into roles, he's more of the making sure everything gets done and that we have good documentation on everything, where I am more keeping the machines running and bringing work into the shop. And he's pretty much busy every day on the laser for a good majority of the day in combination with the 3D printer and Cerakoting. I'll disassemble the guns and get them ready for him. I'll do all the machining work on the guns, and then he'll take them, he'll degrease them, sandblast them, prep them for Cerakote, and take them from there. So I'm on the front end, he's on the back end, and then when he's done with them, he'll hand them back to me, and I'll assemble all the guns and make sure they're functioning good, and then we'll call the customers and let them know they're ready for pickup. So, it's been working out really well, and especially, I don't know if have I talked about Monday.com much on the podcast? So that's been really good for helping us organize, and it was a little frustrating today because apparently we were on a 14-day free trial, and it expired, and our board became unusable.
Oh, no.
But if you look on their website, it says free forever for 2 users if you want to use it for personal use or for really small stuff. And I was like, why is all of our stuff locked out? And so I sent them a support an email, and now we can use our board just like normal. So
that's
a little frustrating, but
yeah,
we're still on the free account and everything's working again. So there is some benefits, like because our trial period's over, we don't have access to some of the automation type features. So we'll figure out if it's worth spending the money to get that, or if, hey, when you, instead of just clicking this button, why don't you go move it over here and do this instead? I think long term it'll probably make sense. We'll want to pay for it, but right now, we're still getting used to the system, so we probably will just leave it in the free realm for a while, because paying, I think it was like $30 a month for the for the few features that they want that we would like to use. It's like, it's not worth it for me to just move it over here by myself.
That's kind of the problem I had with Airtable. It's like, okay, their free plan is awesome and I love it, but their plan that has all the stuff I want is like, $30 or $40 per user per month, and it's like, I like you guys, but like that's a big step up.
Yeah. Like if you were,
I was just gonna say, like, if you guys were, $10 or $15 a month, like I would be all over this. And actually, I do pay for a mid-tier plan that's like $10 a month to run my Sticker of the Month Club form. But yeah, it's just the stuff that I need is so expensive that it's just not worth it. Like I'll go do it in myself in Google App Sheets.
Yeah. And that's the annoying part. It's like there are some features that definitely make sense that you would want if you were paying for them. But there's other stuff, and I know why they do it, and I totally understand that. But I also do not like the subscription world that we are in these days as much. Like everything nowadays is going to a subscription model.
Yep.
So, but which is it is what it is. It's which I understand because as we've been talking about here, I want a continuous revenue stream, and I'm sure those businesses do
Yes.
too. I mean, that's the whole. Like, I can vent about the subscription model on one hand, and then at the same time be like, "Oh, it's so nice for business." Like,
Yes.
I want to get more of that type of work. So, like,
I mean,
I understand. I'm talking about two halves of the same coin here.
I have a subscription, so I can't really talk.
yeah, exactly. So, as much as it is to be frustrated, but on the one hand, it can also be super nice on the other. So
I really don't mind the subscription model because the kind of the understanding when you're paying for a subscription is that you get constant ongoing product updates. And generally that software becomes better and better and better over time. If you compare that to software like Mach 3, where you're paying for it once, or Mach 4, and then it just becomes terrible for the rest of time. Like, I'm okay with the subscription.
Yeah. It's fair. I mean, it does provide a benefit. I just wish there was a way that you could have the option of, hey, let me pay a one-time fee because I'm happy with the feature set. I just want to pay for those features. Let me use them forever. And then if you come out with new stuff on the subscription model and, I look at it and I want it, that's great. But I would just like to pay for it once and then be done.
Yeah.
For a while. So, but I understand that, like, for some stuff, like SolidWorks, for example, I think they're in the middle of transitioning to a more subscription-based model. And I think that's good because you were basically forced to upgrade every single year.
Yeah.
Especially if you're a contractor, because whoever you're working with, undoubtedly one of your customers will move to the latest version of SolidWorks, and then you're forced to update, and everyone around you is forced to update because now everyone's on the latest version. And upgrading is stupid expensive, and it's just like, at that point, it's like, just do a subscription model. You get more people in there, lower your pricing, and I think it'll be better overall. Because I think they're getting destroyed. Like, they're starting to feel the hurt from people like Fusion,
Yes.
and Autodesk, and I'm like, that's one reason I really like Fusion, is because of how much more cost effective it is, and I'm really hoping it puts the hurt on some of these CAD softwares, because I don't think CAD software needs to be as expensive as all these people make it out to be. Like, they've been enjoying really good margins on a product like that, I feel like. So anyways, but it also helps like all the makers and people that are just getting started, because, like, when you have a software like SolidWorks where it's like $5 to $10,000 if you want to buy it outright, then I guess your subscription model makes more sense, because then it's a lot less, or you can have a lesser tier. So anyways, I'm drifting, so why don't you take over a minute?
Yeah, so let's see. What, other than the coin, really the only other thing that's happening right now in my shop is I'm redoing my shipping area. My shipping area was like the one last final frontier that was left after the move. There was literally still like 2 boxes that I didn't know what to do with, and they were just sitting in the shipping area from when we moved a year ago. And the desk that I used to ship all that stuff from was a desk that was just left in that room from when we moved in, and it was awful on a number of levels. And finally, I'm now getting that taken care of. So earlier today, I, ripped everything out. I took all my stuff, put away as much of it as I could, and just, shoved everything else against a wall on the other side of the room. I bought a bunch of the pallet racking that I already have in the shop. And pallet racking isn't quite the right word. It's kind of pallet racking style, but it's not quite pallet racking. But with that pallet racking, I have enough for 2 big shelving units, and then between them, I will have a shipping desk that'll have room for like bins along the back of it. It'll be big enough that I can, ship a couple things, and then I can have products on one side of me on one of the big shelving units, and shipping materials on the other side, and then the stuff that I actually need to use, like the tape dispenser, all there within arm's reach. Because before, like, you should see me try to ship a package or you should have seen me in the old setup, which is now no longer existent. I would, to ship one package, I would have to walk like, I don't know, an eighth of a mile, like a quarter mile, because I would just be like back and forth and back and forth and back and forth, because everything was in opposite sides of the shop, and like some of it would be up high and some of it would be down low, and you shouldn't get tired shipping packages, and it was bad.
So it's like the inverse of lean.
Yeah, I had invented the opposite of lean.
That's funny.
And so it's all torn apart now. I, swept and I vacuumed really well. In a last minute decision, I decided to replace the outlets that were on that wall from a single outlet to a duplex. So I'll have, 8 outlets on that wall instead of just 4. And I got some more of the carpet squares that I use on the other side of that room. Not that you'll know what that room looks like. So I'll have at least a little bit of a carpeted area there where I'm standing, so that so it'll be easier on your legs. I bought a stool. It'll just generally be a nice upgrade from where it was. Oh, I bought lights to go over the shipping desk.
Nice. Yeah, that makes a big difference.
Yeah.
So one of these days we should both do shop tours of our current setups.
A lot of people did them with the new year, and I went, ooh, I need to do one. And then I didn't yet. So
yeah,
I'll do one when the powder coat booth is finished and the shipping station's finished.
We haven't posted any YouTube videos of any sort, and I've wanted to get into that a little bit at some point. Maybe I just need to do a shop tour video and post that or something.
Yeah, shop tour is a low barrier to entry video, and they're generally pretty popular. So,
yeah. So it would have been fun had I started to do a video like a year ago when I first started doing this of a shop tour, and I just never got it finished.
Mm-hmm.
And it'd be cool if I had, because a 1-year update on the shop, it's vastly different.
Yes,
so
I'm sure.
Because we didn't have the Haas, we didn't have the laser, we didn't have the 3D printers in there. We didn't have the little manual lathe that we have. Didn't have any of the grinding stations. Didn't have the shipping station. Didn't have any material racks. It was literally just a Tormach in the corner with one toolbox and one table.
Yep.
So, there's been a lot of change. So we were very blessed. And right now we're in the middle of getting heat and air installed.
So, ooh, nice. Nice. What is powering your heat? Is it electric?
Yeah, it's electric.
Okay.
It'll be a heat pump.
Oh, nice. Is it a mini split?
No, it's not a mini split, but it'll be a heat pump system.
Okay.
Yeah, it's like what you would find in most residential homes, except it's hanging from the ceiling, out in the open, and just blowing. So, well, I say just blowing. It's not up and running yet. The heat and air guy just got done today, and the electrician should be coming sometime this week, I believe. And then hopefully
Sorry, I was going to say, are heat pumps common in your area? Like, do your winters stay warm enough where they are good ideas?
They're gaining in popularity. So, I believe my house, which was built in 2018, is a heat pump system, but it has emergency heater coils if needed. And it hasn't really used them that much, but when it does, I can tell. Because usually my utilities bill is under $200 a month, and when that kicks on, it goes over that. So
Okay. Yeah. So now that we're heating this space, pretty much all the time, our utility bill has been through the roof. Because I'm in here pretty much every day, and my wife is in the house every day. So, like, we're always heating both buildings.
yeah. It's exciting. I can't wait to get it because we had some crazy temperatures. Well, all of the U.S. really had some crazy temperatures a little while ago, and
Yeah.
we were unable to work in our shop for a day or two just because of how cold it was. So,
on the bright side, since we're all attached and the shop bill is on there, it means I can write off half of my electricity bills, tax write-offs.
that is awesome.
So I get that at least.
Yeah. Another thing we're looking at doing is, if I do a shop tour video, I'll show this, but our shop is in the garage of my grandparents' house. And my grandmother kindly came over to the shop the other day and was like, "You guys need a big sign so people stop knocking on our door."
Yeah.
So we might be getting a big sign that says "Precision Ingenuity over here."
Yes.
Because when you drive up, it does look like their front door could be the front office to a business in a way. Like if you don't know what's going on, but it's totally not. And so she's had several people that'll like pull up right in front of her door and like walk into her room. Like she had one person just like walk in and they're watching TV and she's like, "Hello," and the guy's like, "I think I'm in the wrong place." So it's like we try to watch for people, and like if I see someone coming down the driveway that like obviously hasn't been there before, like one of us will try to step out and wave them down to come over here. And we have signs, and like we put a huge sticker on the door that says Precision Ingenuity.
But they have to get to the door to see that.
But they have to get to that door to see it. So we need a bigger sign that says like entrance here.
Yeah. Or a sign on your grandparents' door that says not Precision Ingenuity.
Yeah. Well, have you ever done the experiment? Don't think about a pink elephant.
Oh, yeah. They would just see the sign and they come in. Yeah. Yeah. Hey, can you? So you know how you get addresses that are like, this is 307A, 307B.
Mm-hmm.
Are those regulated? Is the wrong word. Are those assigned by the post office, or could I like just put my address on this house as like 307 on my shop here as like 307B?
I don't know. That's a good question. Like the numbering, I feel like you'd have to, but the AB thing, I don't know.
Because I would love to be able to designate packages to come to either my shop or the house. Because inevitably they all come to the house.
Yeah.
Which makes sense. And to be fair, it would be easier on the delivery people. But
we have a spot for people to deliver to, and the regulars know where to go. But every once in a while, we get someone who fills in for a day, or it's something like DHL that doesn't come there but once every month or so. And those people always go to my grandparents' side, and I always have to wave them down and be like, "Over here, hello."
Yeah, I could definitely put a sign in where I am. It really, I don't know. I don't get many packages that aren't USPS.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know. I part of me wants to make this like 7301B.
Yeah. Let's see here. What else do we got going on? Things have just been running a lot smoother. I feel like we're finally like. I had a moment last week where me and my cousin, we were getting stuff done, and it was towards the end of the day, and I just looked over and I'm like, man, I feel like things are just flowing smoother through the shop. And he turned around and he was like, I was literally having the exact same thoughts right now. So I feel like we're finally starting to get into a little bit of a groove. Like we're getting enough consistent work that we can plan stuff out in advance and make sure we have all the tooling and material. And when we get it, just get it done and get it out the door instead of like having to fight everything. And, I'm getting to the point now where I'm writing programs and they're working pretty much perfectly every time.
Nice.
With very little, go back and tweak this, go back and tweak that. So it's pretty exciting to see all of our work kind of starting to pay off a little bit in those areas.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
When you buy your tooling, are you doing that all online, or are you talking to like distributors and tooling reps and yada, yada, yada?
We pretty much do it all online without talking to people. That being said, a local machine shop that we do a lot of work with, they had a big tool rep guy come in middle of last year, and they set up all these booths and put up all these tools and stuff, and we walked around and talked to a lot of those guys.
Oh, interesting.
But I haven't really done anything that much. Like, I'll call them every once in a while, but probably not as much as I should, because I'm sure that's a very valuable resource. The odd times that I have needed specialized stuff, I usually just go and try to figure it out on my own.
Okay.
But I really do need to reach out to them, because they're there as a resource, not only to get you tools, but help you figure out what's the right tool for the job.
So here's my question. So I found out that I have a distributor for SGS, I think is the right name. That is the solid carbide wing of Kyocera. And they make very good tools, particularly smaller tools, particularly for weird materials. When you're buying tools like that, does the distributor have any knowledge, or do I just need to give them part numbers and not expect anything from them? If I need knowledge, do I go to the company and talk to like a applications engineer, and then they give me the part numbers, and then I go to my distributor and I'm like, hey, I want these? Or do I just go to the distributor and like, hey, I need a tool that does this?
So in my very, very limited experience, it's on a case-by-case basis. So you'll either get a guy who knows exactly what he's talking about. And those are usually the older guys who have done machining in the past, and they go, okay, yeah, this brand's great. If you're trying to use, but they're great in stainless steel. Like, this is the brand, this is the tool that you need to use for this. But if you're doing anything that's like mixed metals with some stainless and some carbon, and you want to use the same tooling, then use this brand over here. They're not the best in everything, but they do really good across the board for, if you're trying to maximize one way or another. And we did that once on a grooving tool for the lathe, and I'm really happy we did that. It turned out really good, and it cut 2 to 3 minutes out of a cycle time for one part, which was amazing. So was really happy that we did that. But we haven't really done it much, and part of the reason is because we're a smaller shop. And that guy, he cycles through all the shops, but he doesn't really stop at our shop because we're so small compared to the other shops. Like, this other machine shop that's near us, they have a tool rep that's in their shop there to ask questions about once every week or two. So they have a guy physically showing up. And it was funny because, like, I've heard them talk about stories about their rep and, like, how they've helped him out. Like, they were doing this one job where they were drilling, I forget how many holes it was, but it was a lot of holes. And they were using a carbide drill, but it was taking them, what did he say? A minute or two to drill out the hole, and it was in stainless, like 316, I think, or something like that. And the guy came back with this drill, and he's like, here, I want you guys to test this drill. I want you to go in at like, what was it, like 20 thou per tooth at like an RPM of like 6 or 7,000 RPM or something. I don't remember what it all was, but basically it was like it turned like a 1 to 2 minute drilling operation into like a 10-second operation. And he was like, the owner of the machine shop was like, now if we break our machine, are you going to cover that? And the guy's like, oh yeah, like you're not going to break anything. And they just he had to like pressure them into finally using this drill bit. And now that same drill bit, like it drilled in, it was clean, it didn't chatter, it didn't break, it didn't hurt anything, and they were able to go from like 100 holes per tool at a really slow drill speed up to like 1,000 or 2,000 holes in like a fraction of the time, and like they were just blown away. And they never would have done that if the tool rep had not been in there on a consistent basis, and they'd finally decided to ask him about that one tool. Like, what would you recommend for this? So,
well, yeah, I need to get a hold of someone and get some of those tools ordered. Yeah, it looks like they have 20 different tools that could potentially work for my application here.
And that's the hard part about some of those, because we've gotten some of those like big tool books, and it's like there's so many different options in some of those. And like sometimes it's like, okay, that one, let's see how that one does. It looks like it meets all of our requirements.
Yeah.
So, and sometimes it's a hit, sometimes it's a miss. But like, so we did that for that tool, and then another one we did was the face mill that we use, and that's the one that got that really nice finish on those tape measures we did for you. I was really happy with that one. And what's really cool about that one is we had a face mill that we got from Kennametal that we got on the recommendation of, or from Titans of CNC, because that's the very first thing we did. So we got the 3-inch face mill that they recommend using from Kennametal. And we weren't getting awesome finishes in aluminum all the time. Like on really thin parts in particular, it was really hard to get a good surface finish. And then we talked to our tool rep, and he said, no, you need to use this brand. It was SMC. And we got a 2-inch and a 3-inch face mill from them, and I love them because the 2-inch and 3-inch face mills, the inserts are interchangeable for both of them. And
that's
the
nice.
2-inch, yeah, and the 2-inch we use for stainless, and it gives an absolutely fantastic finish. And the 3-inch we use for aluminum, and it does a phenomenal job for that. So with those two tools, I can either use it for aluminum or stainless on 2 or 3 inches. And it's been amazing.
I've still never used my face mill.
Oh, I love it. I love it. Although after our conversation with Servan Solutions,
Servan.
Servan?
I remember that we were saying it, or I've been saying it wrong for years. It is not Servan. Yeah. I think it's Servan.
Servan? Yeah, Servan Solutions. Yeah, because I think I say Servan because I've listened to you say it so much.
Yeah.
He uses so many different slotting tools, the slitting saws, to do stuff that like I've never used a slitting saw before. So after that conversation with him, I really want to play around with some slitting saws and see what I can do with those.
I love my slitting saw, as long as it's not in stainless. I will say on my Tormach with a 2-inch slitting saw in stainless, they kind of suck because the Tormachs do not have torque under about 750 RPM. And if you're cutting with a 2-inch slitting saw, that's a lot of surface feed already. And stainless does not like that surface feed. And so you're at risk of stalling out because you're trying to run it so slow. In brass and aluminum, it's a world of difference, and they're awesome.
Yeah. Now, does the thickness of the blade, I'm sure it does, but does it play a pretty major part in how much power it takes?
It seems to. I've tried both thinner blades and some thicker ones, relatively thicker. And I ended up somewhere in the middle. I tried I think it was a 1/32nd blade.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I think it was a 1/32nd blade. And that's the one that mysteriously shattered on me for some unknown reason. And then I also have used a 1/16th blade, and that was the one where I had spindle stalling issues, and then
Yeah.
it broke on me, but for known reasons. The one that I've settled with is in the middle. What is that? 3/64ths or whatever it is.
Yeah.
And
Like
it's 0.047, whatever that works out to be.
mm-hmm.
And that one seems to be the sweet spot for me. I really like that one. And that's where I'm going to probably stick in the future.
Yeah. Yeah. And that's one of those things where when people give you tooling recommendations, they really need to know what machine you're using it on, at least in the case of us Tormach users. Because if rigidity and power are two things that we are both lacking in on those machines, which for smaller parts is not as big of a deal, but the bigger you get, the bigger deal it becomes.
And I'm lucky that like I pretty much only do small parts. Like everything I make pretty much has to fit in your pocket, which limits the size of the thing. And that's why I've never used my face mill. Like I just don't make big things.
Yeah. And the more I've gone back and forth on my Tormach so much. Like some days I absolutely love it. Some days I'm like, oh, I want to throw this thing away because I need more.
Yeah.
And I had a moment last week where I was running some parts and I absolutely loved how they were coming out on my Tormach. They were in aluminum and they were smaller. But everything was running so smooth. The finishes were so nice. Like all of my chamfers were lining up perfectly. And I don't know if that's just me becoming a better machinist. Probably is, and some of my better programming tactics. But for such an odd shaped part, and I'll see if I can find a photo of it. It was.
Is it on your Instagram or anything?
I don't know if we've posted photos of it on our Instagram yet. But I don't think we posted any photos of it. But it's a hand grip piece for a rifle, for an M-LOK system. Yep. And if you look at it, there's not a whole lot of ways to hold it because there's not a whole lot of good surfaces to grab onto. And it was a 4-aught part. Yeah. It was a 4-aught part, and it had a recessed hole right there on the top or bottom, depending on how you look at it. But they all turned out like butter. I did break one tool, but that was my fault for not closing the vise all the way, and then the part shifted and the tool snapped. So totally user error on that one. But like for execution and how smoothly everything's went on that, I thought I was going to hate those, and I put it off, and finally I had to do it, and they all turned out amazing. So I was so happy.
Nice. Did you design those or?
Mm-hmm. So we had a customer who came in and he wanted a front hand grip for his rifle, but he wanted something custom. He's like, here's some drawings for inspiration. Just see what you can come up with. And so we 3D printed a couple prototypes, and he's like, oh yeah, that's awesome. And that's what we came up with. And when you're making one, you might as well make multiples. So I think I planned on making 8 and I scrapped 1. So I made 7. And so we'll just have them around for, to sell to people or to have as a showpiece. Or I've already had 2 or 3 people that have been interested in them locally, and I'm Cerakoting them instead of anodizing them, so we can get them done and out the door a lot faster. So so I'm excited about that. I think we're probably going to do a lot more stuff Cerakoted instead of anodized if we can help it, because we did some. We had another individual who wanted some gun parts, and he wanted us to machine them. Different guy, and it's a part that you can readily buy again, but he wanted us to make one, so we did, and we Cerakoted those, and it was so. It's so cool when you can design something, machine it, and Cerakote it, and within less than 8 hours, go from a thing in CAD to a painted finished product.
Yep.
That was such a magical moment. Like literally in one day, going from concept art to painted final product. And we made 6 or 7 extra, because if you're doing one, you might as well do multiple. And got them on hand to sell in case someone else wants it. So pretty happy about that too.
Yeah, that process of starting from design and going to a finished project is something that I'm trying to figure out how to speed up in my shop. And I've been talking about this on like Instagram lately is, before, like when I first set up my shop, I saw it as a production shop. And in production shops, your goal is to minimize inventory and, make everything as lean as possible. You don't want extra random junk sitting around because it's just wasteful when you're a production shop. And it's like, well, as a prototyping shop, the priorities change a little bit to like speed and flow over having inventory sitting around. Because I don't need all that room for production and it's not going to get in my way. But like, so the example that's on hand here is the little screwdrivers, the keychain screwdrivers I made the other day. For everybody who didn't see those, ooh, look, I have screen share now. It's a small keychain screwdriver. The hex bit fits inside it and is retained by a flexure. And how do I get to my own page? And there it is. So here's the finished one. And then really there's cool. A little hex that you can stick the screwdriver into for when you need to do your screwdrivering. Here it is in its unfinished form. And as I was prototyping those, I realized really the best way to make those is to put a magnet down in the bottom of that hex, because there's the tolerances on the screwdriver hexes are surprisingly tight. They're really plus or minus 1 or 2 thou. Like if you go by just any random screwdriver blank. However, sometimes they get dinged up and damaged, which makes them functionally oversized. And sometimes they are not perfect hexagons. And they'll have the hexagonal equivalent of run out, whatever that is. And so like sometimes my press fit, I had a very light press fit, or very light sliding fit to get that hex bit in there. And sometimes with some bits, it just didn't work as well. And I think the right way to fix that would have been to put a magnet in the bottom. That's what everyone does. I now understand why everyone does that. I liked the idea of a press fit, but in reality, it doesn't work as well as I had made it up to in my brain. But I didn't have those magnets on hand, and so my prototype of the month members got one without prototypes. I made a worse product. I iterated less on it because I didn't have the resources I needed at hand. And so I'm trying to find ways to not buy all of Fastenal and put it in my garage here, but to have enough stuff on hand that it's not making me make worse design decisions.
So what we do in that same situation is we buy a lot of different things for storage and organization, and we have spots for it whenever we eventually do need to have to pull the trigger on it. That's how we handle a lot of it.
So you might have a bin for, 440 screws and have, lengths for 5 different sizes in there, but only have one size. Is that what you're saying?
Yes.
That's actually not a bad idea.
So what we do, if we've laid all of the groundwork, that way, if we need to find something, we can find it fast. And if we don't have it, we just order it and we have a spot for it already designated. We put it in said spot, and then if we ever need it in the future, we know exactly where to go to get it. And we just buy a little bit extra, which usually, if you're talking about fasteners and things of that nature, you're usually going to buy them in a box of 25 to 100. So usually you have extra on hand just by accident. But we try to have designated areas to put that stuff into. That way we can always fall back on it. And like if we're buying tooling for a job, we'll always try to buy at least one extra. First, in case something ever goes wrong on that job, it's just smart to have extra. That way you're not stuck. And second, it allows us to slowly build up our tooling over time to the point where we have a minimum quantity of all the different types of tools that we've used. Now, there are some exceptions to that. like if we're doing a job and it has a reamed hole and we're only making like 2 or 3 of them, we're not going to buy 2 or 3 reamers of that size. It makes things a little bit nervous when you actually do it, but I don't want to have 4 or 5 of, an odd size reamer that I'm only going to use once or twice. But things like drill bits, taps, fasteners, end mills, long reach end mills, stuff of that nature, I'll pretty much everything that I've bought, I've more or less have used multiple times on multiple jobs, even if I bought it initially for a specific scenario on a job, with the exception of things like reamers. The reamers are a little bit too specialized. But drill bits, taps, and other things, I almost always end up using. If I've used it once, I'll probably use it again in the future.
Yep. I was just looking earlier, and you can buy screw assortments from McMaster, so I might do that. I remember in the past someone saying that one time they just called Fastenal and were like, "Hey, give me a screw assortment," and Fastenal was like, "Yes, sir," and shipped them a screw assortment that they put together for their needs. So I'm tempted to call my local Fastenal and be like, "I need screws from like I-80 to number 6.
Yeah,
give me a variety: socket head, pan head."
Yeah, because if you don't at least have a place for all of that stuff, you're going to find yourself rebuying stuff all the time.
Yes.
So at number one, you need to be organized.
Yeah. With my Gridfinity system, I'm not worried about that.
Yeah.
So right now I'm going to transition from the existing hardware bins that I have. I'm sure you've never seen them. They're just like plastic sorters. I'm going to replace those with a like laser cut big Gridfinity drawer kind of thing. And so storing those won't be a problem. I don't know. I need more variety. I've slowly picked up a variety over time. Like I have, ball bearings, and I have motion components and washers but I mean, need more, especially hardware.
I will say, even with R&D, it's just a messy business in general. I have not seen anyone who's done a great job of organizing R&D. I remember watching a Haas tour video a while back where they were going over the production, and like everything was labeled, everything was leaned, like everyone knew where everything was, all the toolboxes were organized, everyone had like all the spec sheets and like all this stuff, and like it was all like super super nice and like made a lot of sense for a production environment. And the guy who was giving the tour was like, "Oh yeah," he's like, "Do you think we could go take a look at your guys' R&D shop and kind of see what that's like?" And the guy that was giving the tour was like, "No, it looks nothing like this. It looks like a bomb went off in there. Like it is a mess. Tools are everywhere. Like everything's torn apart. No one knows where anything's at. Like it's just horrible." And I think that's just the nature of R&D work, because you're trying to do something that's never been done. You can't have a process in place to be able to capture every single scenario, because you're dealing with unknown quantities all the time, because that's the point of R&D, is to figure that stuff out. So you can't 100% capture everything without running into scenarios like we were talking about, where you're trying to have everything you can on hand, which is the inverse of lean.
Yeah. I 100% disagree that you can't make R&D more systematic and processized.
You can, but there's always going to be a certain element of it. I say that. I mean, there is probably, you can systematize it some, but like, you can still have toolboxes where you know where everything goes. Like you can still have systems in place. But when you're trying to do stuff that you've never done before, you're going to inevitably run into scenarios where you have new stuff. And if you keep systematizing everything, you're eventually going to run into a place where you have old stuff that you need to get rid of. That's just cluttering up the place.
Absolutely. So, I mean, all systems should be evolving. And yes, you will still have to order some things. Like I don't want to, if I tried to stock every screw that I needed, it would cost me, or every screw that I might ever need potentially in the history or in the future, designing everything, that would cost me like $5,000 in screws. Mm-hmm. But to get 80% of the screws that I'm going to need for all of Design the Everything Future, that'll cost me like $150 or maybe $300.
Yeah.
That last 20% gets really expensive.
So let me ask you this. If you're focusing more on R&D stuff, how much of your stuff that you're R&Ding do you print out in advance?
You mean like 3D print?
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to say 100% because that's a very absolute number, but I mean, basically 100%.
Okay.
There's no reason to not 3D print it first.
Okay.
Even just to get the general gist of the size of something.
Okay. Does that help a lot with a lot of these issues, or are you still finding yourself struggling?
I mean, it doesn't help me when I need a number 4 screw at 7 p.m. on a Sunday. Like,
that's fair.
But yeah, it gets the...
But I mean, I feel like, at least for us, whenever we're designing stuff like that, like I can design around not having that fastener in hand if I want to 3D print something to see how it would work and just make it solid or something.
Yes. Yeah, and I do. Generally I go through a couple different like phases of prototyping. There's generally the and these kind of run parallel but separate. There's like the form prototypes and there's the function prototypes.
Gotcha.
Or in the industry I've heard them called looks like prototypes and works like prototypes. The works like prototypes don't need to do anything except prove out the mechanism or whatever functionality is there. The looks like prototypes don't need to do anything except look like it and feel like it in the hand.
Mm-hmm.
So with 3D printing, most of the time I'm just able to do the looks like prototypes, and then the functional prototypes need to be machined.
That makes sense. So when you're doing things like your like on that screwdriver, you had that flexure that holds it in. How much tweaking do you have to do on something like that? Because obviously, if you 3D print that versus machining that, it's going to be completely different because they're different materials.
Yes.
And if you decide to do that,
that one to prototype I did on the laser.
Oh, it is? The
prototypes I did on the laser.
Oh, okay.
Because that was a lot faster than 3D printing, and it's basically a 2D part. So yeah, for that one, I did probably 3 or 4 different versions to get the feel of the flexure right. Fortunately, I was pretty close right off the bat just by eyeballing it. So I didn't have to do too many. On the carabiner, I had to do more.
That makes sense. Trying to tweak that in.
Yeah. You can also do a lot of that stuff in FEA in Fusion.
Yeah, did you do that on that one? Or have you done
Not on the screwdriver. I did on the carabiners. Like a lot of it on the carabiners.
Was it pretty accurate?
Yes.
Oh, okay, good.
Because there were so few variables.
Oh, that's nice.
Titanium is a very well characterized material, and I mean that's pretty much all that the simulation is.
Yeah, that's good. You got a lot of feedback on that one. You have high hopes for that thing, that little screwdriver deal?
On the screwdriver, that was like that first post that I showed earlier on here was like my most popular Instagram post in like a year or two.
Yeah, that one was like blowing up.
Yes. So I should probably get moving on those a little bit faster. I know what I'm going to do. I have the design in my head. I'll still have to make a couple prototypes, but basically it's going to...
Go ahead.
I was going to say, basically it's going to be the same, except it is going to go to 17-4 stainless, not brass. It's going to get magnets instead of the press fit. And it is going to have one end turned into a pry bar / flat bladed screwdriver.
Okay. So is that what you needed the small screws for?
Well, in this case, I needed magnets.
Oh, magnets. Okay.
Yeah. Which I now have a magnet assortment, thanks to Tom of Infinity Craftsman. He sent me a bunch, and I bought a couple assortments on Amazon. So now I'm pretty well stocked on magnets.
Yeah.
Thanks, Tom. But yeah, I have a couple projects coming up where I need an assortment of I know that I'll need small screws, but I'm not going to know which ones until I go to design it. So
yeah. That is one of those things. Magnets and fasteners are one of those things that it's nice to have on hand.
Yep.
For prototyping. That's very true. So, let's see here. Oh, I have a really fun gun build that we're working on. So have you watched John Wick?
I have. It's been a while, but I have.
So we had a gentleman who I found out was in university the same time I was in university, just in a different department, who found us through connections, like different connections, which is awesome. I love those organic connections. And he saw a TikTok video of someone who made a John Wick inspired black powdered rifle.
Interesting.
And so he brought us a black powder rifle that he bought at I think a pawn shop, and for dirt cheap, or someone else. I'm not sure where he got it, but it's really worn down. And we're shortening the barrel, relocating the sights, mounting a Picatinny rail to it, and then Cerakoting it. He's going to replace the stock with a tactile stock and put a handguard on the front, kind of like that you see on your ARs and stuff, and put a red dot on it. And it's going to be what John Wick would have if it took place in like the 1700s or 1800s.
It's awesome.
It's
going to be ridiculous, but it's going to be awesome.
I am so excited for this gun. Like, it is, like, he showed me the TikTok and I was like, that is so cool. And see, I saw some videos here recently of someone who did something similar to that to a lever action rifle. Uh-huh. Like they took a lever action rifle and turned it into like a tactical looking lever action rifle, and it looks so cool. And he's basically doing the exact same concept except with a black powder muzzle loaded rifle. And so I cannot wait until this one is done. And it's all beaten up, and so we're going to try to clean it up and Cerakote it. And I think it's going to look really good when it's done. Super happy about that. But we'll have to see. And I guess another thing that I could mention was that whole secret product that we talked about last.
Ooh, yeah.
So,
or we could be really mean.
We could.
It's getting to that time.
Yeah. So I guess let me ask you this: I haven't been able to. Air compressor for the win. Okay. So I haven't actually been able to make any headway because of all the craziness that happened last week. So do I need to just keep bringing it up every week and not give any updates until I've actually made headway, or do I need to spill the beans and let everyone know about the secret product that I've had floating around in the back of my brain? I will say I did do one thing. I did look up the prices of material for it, and it's going to be a lot more expensive than I initially thought, from a material standpoint. But I still think it's totally doable, and there's still totally enough margin in there to make money off of it. Just not nearly as much margin as I thought there'd be. So what do you think? Are you as you wait for the air compressor to stop going? This is not an awkward pause for everyone that's listening. This is a planned break while AJ gathers his thoughts.
We are professionals here.
Wow, that's a really long air compressor cycle.
Okay, it's done. That did seem like a long one. Yeah, we're professionals here. How loud is the air compressor through the mic?
It's pretty loud.
Okay,
it's
pretty loud in here too.
Yeah.
I think you should tease them with one more hint to help our retention numbers for next episode.
To help our retention numbers for next episode, a hint. Okay, I don't think I said if it was a rifle or a pistol, so I will confirm that it's a pistol.
A product for a pistol. You're not making a pistol.
No, we're not making a pistol. This is a product that would go cool. On a pistol.
You should just make guns.
Oh, I want to make a gun so bad. Like I
Are
really
you
like.
are you
I could.
legally able to, like,
I
if
am.
you designed your own,
Yes.
you could make and sell one?
Hmm. I have to serialize it, and we have to have. There's like a lot of stuff that we have to do on our end, because if we serialize it and then somehow that serial number gets reused and we do it, major like
Yeah.
problems. But that is something we can do. It's something that gun shops do that don't even have any machining equipment, because with this license, a lot of guys will buy AR-15 lowers and they'll have them
Hmm.
serialized. They'll buy them from a company, have them serialized, and build guns around them, and then they'll sell them as this is a gun we made. And they don't have any machines or anything like that. All they did was they bought all the individual components and put their logo and serial number on it, and now it's my gun. Um, Interestingly enough, there's only like 3 or 4 manufacturers of AR lowers in the entire U.S., and everyone else is just rebranding under them. Um,
But if you wanted to, like, come up with your completely own design, you could. You could
yes,
start from
yes.
scratch. You
Mm-hmm.
should do that just for my entertainment, because I think it would be cool.
Oh, I want to so bad. I really do. That is a big goal of ours, but it is way more than we could chew right now, and and I would have to test it so much before I ever released it to
Yeah.
someone, because of the liabilities and all that. But it is something that I would love to do it. I think it'd be so cool. I had a whole
You're,
nother idea that I was talking to about someone else, and I won't spill the beans on this one, because this is an idea of something I've wanted to do for a long time that I thought would be really, really cool. But I can't do anything with it yet, and it would have to be way down the line because it involves electronics and
mm.
guns. So
So hear me out.
super sweet.
I kind of have my specialty, which is parametric design and, like, using the Fusion plugin in
Mm-hmm.
Fusion, or the Python plugins in Fusion to do fun stuff. Hear me
Mm-hmm.
out. Parametric rifle. Choose your barrel length. Choose your maybe choose what it's chambered in. Choose your stock length.
Yeah,
You could maybe change the weight distribution. There's a couple. There's a couple levers you could pull there.
there is. You would have to. It would probably have to be something that would be like a competition rifle that was highly
Yes.
customized. Um,
Well, yeah, there you go. There's your niche right there, is competition rifles,
yeah,
where you can make it. You can do more customization than anybody else.
yeah. I just got done watching a video of a guy who made a $10,000 22 competition rifle,
Wow.
and he was talking about it, and trying to do competition 22 rifles that are in a rim fired cartridge, is just crazy. Um, but it was really cool. It was a really cool video, and I mean the gun was it was nice. It was real nice. So, um, but I mean, yeah. There's like the more stuff that I do from scratch product wise, like having a couple of these customers come in and what custom products for things that you can buy off the shelf as I'm doing them. It's like they're really not as hard as you'd think, or at least as I was thinking. And with the Cerakote and being able to do it all in house at such a rapid pace,
Yep.
like I really want to start offering more options of products, um, because it's a lot like it's gone a lot smoother on the few items that we've done. So like for example, we did a Remington 700. A really common modification is doing a taking the stock action lever arm, um,
Mm-hmm.
for loading it, and it comes with it's a fully cast part, um, and people will machine off the knob and put on their own knob to extend it out. Um, and we made our own version of those. We don't have any photos of it yet because we're waiting to get the finished rifle, but I can show you photos on my phone. Um, we machined the knob on the end there on our
Yep.
lathe, and then we Cerakoted it, which I don't think I have any photos of it Cerakoted, but um, I have a photo of the old one though. Um, anyways, we did that, and it came out. It was so fast and so quick and easy on our lathe. It was literally like a 1 day part. That's the part that I was talking about. That like we literally designed, machined it, sandblasted it, Cerakoted it, and had a finished product in one full day.
Yeah.
And it was, I mean, that's like the closest thing to magic I've experienced. Like I don't know what about it is doing it so fast, all under one roof. It just over the simplest, silly little things. Like it's nothing impressive. Like it, like it's not like a Grimsmo knife or like a Pearson pallet system. Like it's nothing overly It's stupid simple, but at the same time, like going from like a 2D sketch to a literal product in your hands. It's painted and ready to be installed in that short a time. I don't know. It just makes me giddy. Like I just get so excited for it. I'm just like, oh, this is the coolest thing ever. Even though it's like a little silly knob that goes on the end of a rifle. So like, but I don't know. I love it. I love it.
I get it. I'm there with you. Yeah.
So yeah, it's fun.
Anyway, we should probably start wrapping up here before my air compressor goes off again.
Yeah. Sorry. So anyways, that's my hint for this week is that it is installed on a pistol. So for those of you who are following our surprise product saga. So anyways, this is Harrison with Precision Ingenuity signing out for the week with AJ from Design the Everything, and we'll see you all next week.
Bye.